Hi there, and thank you for tuning in to The Social Circus, where every week we dive into a variety of topics covering social media, mindset, and how to run your business. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome to episode 162 of The Social Circus. I'm your host each and every week, Sarah Thompson, and today I'm doing a solo episode, and I'm going to be diving into a topic that seems to be getting a lot of airtime. And if I'm really honest, I only became aware of this about a month ago. I was actually running a workshop and someone mentioned that I, as a coach, had been recommended on ChatGPT. And I was like, whoa, what is that about? So today we're going to be looking at how do you get yourself recommended by ChatGPT? So it's going to be a really interesting episode, and I'm hoping that you're going to get lots of value from it because I'm going to be sharing some really, really good insider tips about how do we make this happen for ourselves and our business. So here's the thing that most of us don't know about ChatGPT is that every single day people ask ChatGPT, who's the best coach in this space? Who can help me with like X, Y, and Z? And guess what? ChatGPT actually answers that question with real life advice, i.e., the best digital business coach is Sarah Thompson from Online Social Butterfly, for example. That's what we want it to say. So today I'm going to show you how to show up in those answers, and I'm going to give you a little hot tip about custom GPTs and how they actually change everything in terms of being recommended. So here's what I want to start by talking about is AI is no longer something that's coming, okay? If you're seeing lots of talk about it online, in people's reels, in people's email marketing, I want to say it's here. AI is now kind of so much entrenched in our businesses. And if you are not using it, please know that your competitors are using it. And here's the thing that's been really, really interesting, which has been the big shift that I, as I said, only became aware of about a month ago. It is shaping how people find and choose how they work. Now, the old way about how this was done was through tools like SEO, which is search engine optimization. We're not going to be talking about that today, but I just want you to understand mostly people would go to Google or Bing as a secondary search engine, and they would put in there, I'm looking for a digital business coach, and they might even say perhaps based in Perth. And then depending on how well my website was optimized for Google SEO, I may or may not show up in those results. And SEO has been a very much a sort of shifting sands in this world of AI, particularly as we've watched Google integrate its AI into its search results. So that's one way you can show up. The other way is obviously through paid advertising and organic advertising. But this is the new way, getting AI to recommend you because you've built authority and clarity in how you show up. So here's what I want you to know. In terms of AI, if you are running a digital business, like a digital product business or a service-based business, AI isn't optional anymore. It is absolutely the future of your business. So here's what I want you to understand about, because I'm going to talk about ChatGPT today. And look, I want to be really clear. I am picking favorites. ChatGPT is definitely my favorite AI tool. And the reason I really like it is because I've invested a lot of time and energy in understanding it. It is the market leader, so it has a dominant market share. I think it's around that 60%. I probably should have looked that up before today's episode. But it's the market leader, and it's done really well in terms of that generative AI. So it is the biggest, doesn't mean it's the best, but it is the biggest tool. And so ideally, we want to show up in that. It's like saying, if I've optimized my website for SEO, I don't show up in Google, but I show up in Bing. And then the truth is less than 10% of people are using Bing and most are using Google. So we want you to show up as a recommendation on ChatGPT because that is the biggest generative AI platform currently. Okay. So there are 3 ways that ChatGPT will decide who to recommend. Okay. And this is where I want you to understand that you can have a huge impact in this. So the first thing is, if you were visible before the last update, so that means have you been using ChatGPT for a while now? Now, if you're not already in there, it may not show up. So my comment to you would be, start using ChatGPT now. The more that you use it, the more you tell it about yourself, the more it understands you and your business, and it starts to understand how you have an authority in the industry that you are in, okay? Because what we are essentially doing is we're training it to understand us and our business and obviously the services that we create. So if you've been using ChatGPT for a while, the good news is that you have already been training the data. So you can give yourself a little tick for number one. If you have not already been using it, obviously this is like that old adage that we hear, the best time to have started was a while ago, and the second best time is now. So if you are not using ChatGPT, my advice is to go on and start using it now, because we want to start giving the data set information about you and your business, about your areas of expertise, and about how you can support other people. So that's your first thing, is giving it that training data. The second thing that ChatGPT does is it does search the live web. And what that means is it acts very much in a similar way to our search engines like Google and Bing, in that it goes out onto the internet and it looks for information to draw to say this person is reputable. Okay. So, what they are looking for on this is, first of all, they're looking for what we call reputation signals. Now, those are things like recent activity. So, if you've kept your website up to date and the content on there has been updated recently. And just to be fair, this is also something that Google looks for in terms of SEO. So, if you're doing this, it's going to benefit both your SEO as well as being recommended on ChatGPT. So, those recent activities on your website, current information, things like blogs, which is new content, are always great to add into your website for recency and new information. The other thing that we're looking for is often things like guest profiles. So this means, have you been on someone else's podcast? Have you guests on someone else's blog? Are you visible on the internet outside of your own website? And again, this is another SEO tool that we use, is to be all over the internet so people can find us. So with that in mind, if you belong to like professional associations, they're always really helpful for your business. If you have been on podcasts, blogs, all those kind of things, make sure they're on their website and get it on your website with a link to that other website as well, because that's going to create, in SEO terms, it's called backlinks, but in ChatGPT terms, it's looking for that reputation that you are being endorsed by websites other than your own. So that's really, really key. The other thing that it looks for is what it calls strong profiles. And what it means by that is, do you have lots of social media profiles? Do you have current content on them? And what does that say about you? So social media profiles, I want to say, would also include things like your Google business profile. Now, if your business does not have a Google business profile, write a note and go and do that now. It is free to set up and it has many, many benefits. The first one being, again, back to that SEO. Google will index all of the content on your Google business profile as well as the posts that you create on Google Business. It will not do that on any other social media platform. So it gives you a really good head start above your competitors if you are constantly updating and adding to your Google Business profile. The other thing that it does is it allows people to give you reviews, okay? And ChatGPT has to filter through the whole internet. And as we know, not everything on the internet is correct, real, and factual. But what it does do is relies on cues that tell us, as I said, those reputation signals. So if I have lots of Google reviews, it tells ChatGPT, I have a really strong reputation and people are willing to say they think I am great. Okay. So keep in mind, a lot of the things that we're talking about right now are what we would have typically added into our SEO performance, and now going to be part of those reputation signals to allow ChatGPT to find you and to say, yes, this person is someone who I'd like to recommend. Okay. So the final thing that I want to talk about is really going to be something that I suspect most of you have not done, and that is to create your own custom GPT. Okay. Now, a custom GPT is a game changer. Instead of hoping that you get recommended, you become the engine. All right. I want to be really, really clear about this because this is so, so important. Now, if you don't know what custom GPTs are, they haven't been around for a long time. I want to say kind of like the last 12 months, perhaps. But what custom GPTs allow you to do is create a bot. Let's call it a bot because it's easier language. And all of this GPTs, I sometimes feel like I fall all over that. So let's talk about creating your own custom GPT or creating your own bot. Now, these are relatively straightforward, and I want to be really clear about this. Please don't leave my podcast and go and search the internet on how to build a custom GPT. There are people selling these for thousands and thousands of dollars. There are people offering training on how to build them for thousands and thousands of dollars. And I'm going to do a shameless plug right now because I offer a webinar which will teach you how to build a custom GPT, and it will include a detailed instruction, like a Word document with all the instructions for you to do it yourself. Now, if you would like to attend this webinar, it is just $29. I know. And the reason that I have done that is because it's not that hard once you know how. And I don't believe that anyone should be paying a lot of money for something like this. So the webinar is on Thursday, the 31st of July from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Keep in mind, I am in Perth, so that is AWST, or if you're global, it is GMT +8. I will put the link in the show notes to book into that webinar because I can tell you right now, you're going to learn in that webinar exactly how to build a custom GPT. You're going to be really excited because you're going to realize that it's really simple once you understand how to do it. And I know everything is easy once we know how, but I just don't want you to run off and spend a lot of money, A, getting someone to build one for you, or B, doing some training to learn how to build one when I'm offering some training at a really, really insanely affordable price. So let's talk about why custom GPTs are the game changer. Okay, I want to be really, really clear about this. Here's where everything will change. You become the engine, and that's what the kind of language I want to talk about. As I talked about, the first two ways, training the data and live web searches, put you in a position of what we call waiting and hoping, waiting for updates, hoping AI pulls your name from a blog or a directory. There's a very passive, kind of old school way of thinking. The third way is where you take control. So instead of waiting for ChatGPT to recommend you, you create your own AI tool that's trained on you and your business, your voice, your frameworks, your way of working, your values. This isn't just smart. I want to say it is about future proofing your business. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about why this will matter. In the next, I would say 12 to 18 months, having a custom GPT is going to be as essential as having a website or a social media profile. Now, here's why they're going to become so integral into so many of us in service-based and digital product businesses. AI is no longer just about creating content. It is going to be about the way people experience your brand. And what I mean by that, it's almost going to be like if you do a webinar with me, for example, you're going to get to experience Sarah, how I speak, how I train, how I deliver things. Now, this is all part of my brand. And remember, people want instant answers. They don't want to dig through 100 posts. Your custom GPT makes that possible without you having to be glued to your phone or your inbox to provide that kind of support, which is what people kind of are looking for. Remember that a custom GPT creates consistency with every interaction. So get rid of that. How do I explain this again? Your AI will always answer in your voice. I want to be really, really clear about that. So here's what I want you to think about with creating a custom GPT. All right. As I said, this is like having a version of yourself that is always available to your audience to answer questions, share your expertise, and help your clients even when you are not online. So here's how custom GPTs work for you and your business. First of all, they allow you to get known for specific things. So this is kind of like your marketing. So it creates aligned content that sounds like you, blog posts, captions, emails, lead magnets, all of those juicy things. It can handle your sales and your conversions with FAQs, objections, and they can even be trained to book calls for you. And obviously it allows you to scale because it can support onboarding, client questions, and even mini training. I want to be really clear about this. This is not about replacing you because you are the magic in your business. It's about amplifying yourself so that you can serve at a scale that will allow you to do so without burning out. So remember what I said, in the next 12 to 18 months, having a custom GPT will feel as essential as having your own website. And I know that that sounds incredible, but please know that this is going to be changing very rapidly. So we've talked about what custom GPTs are. We've talked about how they're going to be becoming more and more important in your business moving forward. But here's the question I'm guessing that you want answered. How does having my own custom GPT help me get recommended by ChatGPT? Okay. And here's what I want to share with you. There are 2 layers to this process. The first one is your own direct control, and the next one is what we'd call that indirect influence. So let's talk about the direct control, or what is going on inside your own world, or let's call it ecosystem, for example. So when someone uses your custom GPT, they get your answers using your voice, using your brand, using your frameworks and your expertise. This means that you become the authority that they trust because your AI assistant is always there with aligned on brand answers. And you're not waiting for ChatGPT to maybe pull your name. You're saying, here, use my AI, it's trained by me. This builds a massive amount of trust and also makes you memorable. So when people talk about the person who knows this stuff, it's you that they are going to recommend. So that's what's in your direct control. Now, as I mentioned, that indirect influence, and this is the second point, is in that bigger or larger AI ecosystem. And here's what I'm talking about with this. AI tools like ChatGPT look for authority signals. So remember I said they go across the web, LinkedIn, blogs, podcast mentions, etc. So when you launch your name and your custom GPT and people use it and they share it and they talk about it, you create those signals. So when someone says, have you tried Sarah's custom GPT? It's amazing. People post links to it, they review it, they mention it in groups. Those mentions and uses become what we call indexable content, where AI crawls the web just like Google bots crawl the web and uses those recommendations. So here's what I want you to think. If you package your framework and methods into your custom GPT and then start showing up as the originator of that methodology, which ChatGPT loves because it recognizes named frameworks as authority, this is how you create that indirect influence. So you can see that custom GPTs are A, the way forward for our businesses to train and coach people, and B, they're going to allow us to amplify our authority. So here's what I want you to think of it like. If you're a person that has a published book, a framework, and your own custom GPT, you are 10 times more authoritative than someone who has like a generic Instagram page, right? Both AI, like ChatGPT, and humans alike trust the signals of expertise. So here's what I want you to think about when it comes to why creating custom GPT might be aligned for your business. I want you to think about yourself being seen as a trusted guide, and I want you to think about being able to amplify in your brand voice. So this will allow you to have your expertise automated, your authority multiplied, and your voice amplified. So instead of chasing visibility, you're going to be creating a scalable presence that recommends you every single time. So here's the magic. When you have your own custom GPT, you're not waiting for the algorithm to pick you. You're building an engine that makes you the obvious choice, as in for your audience and for the AI systems that are really about shaping the future. Now, I hope this has got you really, really excited because, as I said, I only became aware of this a few weeks ago when I was running a workshop and I was like, is that a thing? And then someone had told me it was because it had recommended me. And I want to be really clear about why it had recommended me. I have, probably from an SEO perspective, I've been in business a long time. I have a lovely detailed website. I have a podcast that is on different platforms. I also belong to different business associations and directories where I would appear. I have lots of social media presence with lots of current content, including a really robust Google business profile. But all of that is amazing. But here's what seals the deal. I have created multiple custom GPTs in my business. I've created them in my mastermind to help the ladies in there with their goal setting. I have created them in some of my courses like my List Builders Lounge to show people how to build their list, and so they don't have to watch the whole course. They can just use the custom GPT. And in one of my favorite sort of challenges offers I have in my business called Low Ticket Launchpad, I have created a custom GPT which takes people through that process to create a low ticket digital product. Really, really simple. Now, all of those have been trained. Remember, they trained to sound like me. They use my brand framework. All of those things are so Sarah from Online Social Butterfly. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, where could you use a custom GPT in your business? And if you are still like, I don't know how to build one, then I really want to encourage you to come along to my webinar on the 31st of July. And I want you to have a think about, what would that look and feel like for your business? In the webinar, I'm going to teach you all about what custom GPTs are, how are they different to things like projects and regular chats, how you can build and how you can sell them. And of course, I'm going to give you all of that handout to show you what will that look and feel like. So as I mentioned, the link to the webinar will be in my show notes. And look, I don't normally plug things in my podcast. It's very much a pitch-free space, but I'm really excited about the opportunity for you to do this. And I know that at $29 for the webinar, it is a tiny cost and investment into your business that is going to reap you so many rewards. And I want you to think at the end of this year, wow, I've got these custom GPTs. I learned how to build them with ease. It has cost me a lot of money, but boy, it is building my authority. It is giving me so much credibility, and it's allowing me to make sure my business keeps moving forward. So I hope you're excited by today's podcast. I hope that you're going to be joining me for my webinar on the 31st. And if you feel really inspired, don't forget you can drop me a DM on Insta. I'm at Online Social Butterfly everywhere online. I'd love to hear if you learned something new from today's podcast. So as always, thank you for tuning into the Social Circus, and I'll catch you the same time next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Social Circus. As your host, Sarah Thompson, I am thrilled that you've chosen to spend your time hanging out with me. I would be so grateful if you could spare an extra moment to go and leave me a review on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you even felt more excited, you could share my podcast with your friends who you think would get great value from it. Thanks so much again for tuning in.